Hello, everyone. This is the MBA Bites from ESMT Berlin. My name is Catherine. I am the admissions manager for the Global Online MBA and the full-time MBA. Today will be a 30-minute session with a nice bite-sized lecture from our lecturer, Urs Mueller. I will just give a quick run-through what is happening today. So at first, we will hear a very interesting topic from Urs. After that, I will be introducing ESMT and our MBA portfolio. And at the end, we do have time for a Q&A. So if you already want to pop your questions all throughout the session, you can just go to the bottom of the screen where you have the Q&A function. And there you can start popping in your questions, and I will continuously answer those. And as well, if they are interesting for everyone, then I will also answer them at the end, as well as if you have questions for us directly, you can pop them in there as well. So let's start now with introducing Urs, which I'm very excited about. He is a visiting faculty to ESMT and also an associate professor of practice at SDA Bocconi. He has been with ESMT Berlin since 2005, and he has also been the faculty lead for the part-time MBA. His research activities focus on business ethics as well as corporate social responsibility. And he has written numerous award-winning and best-selling case studies that are available at Harvard, Ivy, and the Case Center. So I would now like to hand over to Urs.
Yes, thank you so much for the kind invitation and introduction. Hello and good morning, good night, good evening, good afternoon to everybody joining us, probably from different time zones. Yeah, as said, my name is Urs, and I'm typically teaching all kinds of ethics classes in ESMT's degree portfolio in various programs. But obviously, because of the technological developments in the recent past, I have developed this particular passion to talk about issues around AI and ethics. And this is actually what I would like to discuss with you very briefly for today. For a couple of minutes, and I thought we're going to start maybe through some sort of an interaction. I'm going to show you a couple of pictures, and then I would like to have some comments from your side, okay? And for you to be able to comment, I understand what we need is you need to use the reactions bar, raise your hand, and then we can give you. We can open the microphone for you, and then you can contribute to our conversation. Okay. So what happened? Well, last December, around December, late December, I met a friend who made me aware of a post by a Berlin-based digital game design professor who posted on LinkedIn 2 pictures that roughly, not 100%, but roughly looked like these 2, okay? So Eric Janot asked ChatGPT, basically DALL-E in that case, to create 2 pictures. And for one, he said, create a picture of a European person doing European things, and then create a picture of an African person doing African things. And what you do see here are the 2 results that I was able to generate. In Eric's case, actually, the European is pretty much the same. The only difference is that in the African, there's someone playing bongo and a couple of people dancing. And that triggered my interest. I thought, oh, wow, that's interesting. Let me try it again. And what I did then is I used kind of all kinds of dimensions of diversity. And I don't know if you have been thinking a lot already about diversity, equity, and inclusion and topics like this. But of course, people are different. And we are different in all kinds of dimensions. And one model here, Gard, Schwartz, and others have developed this tool which basically differentiates between different levels of being different from one another, things that are more close to us as a person and things that are more peripheral. And as you can see here, they're taking all kinds of parental status, appearance, work experience, religion, gender, sexual orientation, seniority, work location, etc. So what I did then is I fired 205 requests to ChatGPT, always with the identical wording: create a picture of a person doing things. And I varied my request along these different dimensions. So I picked all continents, I picked the 30 largest countries by population, I picked some cities, I picked all kinds of controversial geographies where people have possibly discussions about where is the border and these kind of things. And sometimes, we'll come back to that in a minute, ChatGPT would refuse to create the picture and would say, this could be disrespectful, this is a violation of my policy, or for whatever reason. And whenever ChatGPT wouldn't produce the picture, I was using exactly the same phrase. Think of a setting. Now, I was not always using it, but in 90% of the cases after this came to my mind that I needed a standard sentence, I always ask, think of a setting that is within your guideline and is not disrespectful, then create the picture as requested. Okay, and then sometimes it would still refuse, and then I stopped it. Sometimes it would nevertheless create the picture. Okay, and what I would like to do is I would like to show you my collection, 200 and something pictures, 170 pictures or so. These are some, and I don't know if you can see them. But what I would like you to do is, as I'm going to scroll down soon. You see it's sorted alphabetically. Yeah? It starts with adopting, Afghan, African, alien, anarchist, Antarctican, Asian, atheist, attractive, Australian, autistic, average, Bangladesh, beautiful, Berlin, big, billionaire, black, blonde, boomer, Brazilian, British, brunette, Buddhist, business, call center, Catalan. And I'm quickly just going down and down and down and down. Here you see my European. Here you see the extrovert. Here you see Finnish. You can see frivolous. You can see French. And you see the garbage collecting person. You see the heterosexual. This is the gynecologist here. This is the German, of course, pretty much looks like myself. We have Indian. We have influencer, Italian. I need to get a bit quicker here. We have the military. Because of my connections to SDA Bocconi, obviously, I also picked Milan. Yeah, you've seen New York, North Korea, Orthodox, paparazzi, red hair, professor, privileged, Romanian, South African. We see Turkish, and then at the end, US American, Vietnamese, and young. And before that, uninterested, unemployed, uneducated, underprivileged, Ukrainian, etc., etc. Now, if you look through these pictures, what are things that come to your mind if you look at these artificially generated pictures by AI? Raise your hand, and then we hopefully can make you speak. One of you has raised the hand, and now Olga. Yes, I think now you can speak.
Okay, do you hear me?
Yes.
So the first thing that comes to mind, maybe a little bit obvious, is that most of that is white, very handsome men in various sorts of environments. He kind of looks the same. So women are less than men, and also if you see a person of color, then in the majority of situations it's either related to their geography, like Nigerian is black, obviously, but at the same time a black person is also, like I think you said something like underprivileged, So that person is also Black. So yeah, I see a lot of discriminations in the mind of ChatGPT or however it was.
Yeah. Yes. So we have color of skin as a pattern, right? We have male, female as a pattern, and you started to make associations about certain types of connections, right? Like certain types of economic status connected to color of skin, right? You mentioned physical attractiveness. So we already have at least 3 relevant topics. Anything else? Yi, please.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
I think those pictures created by ChatGPT really shows the diversity, but they are showing a diversity in our modern society, which means it's all the pictures I can see from the screen looks like they are focused on the modern life because ChatGPT is created in our time. So maybe I assume the people the ChatGPT was is thinking of is the living persons. But I would like to see if there is any specific characteristics of past societies in different continents, in different times, and maybe in different way of people's life. Because take for example, take Renaissance period, for example. I believe maybe the life there is very different compared to our current society.
Yeah.
So there must be a different view of European life in the Renaissance period as compared to
I actually think that this is a very interesting observation. It's actually an observation I never made. I never thought about this time bias, but it's true. All of these, I think I would have to go through it, but I think almost there's one exception that comes to my mind immediately, and that is mercenary. This picture here. Here, this is, from my perspective, obviously a person that is situated in a setting that looks as if it was many years ago, which was strange because I was expecting something more modern. But all of the others actually can at least be understood to be contemporary. And I guess there are a couple of reasons for that. Partially because the way in which I'm asking it is more present tense. Yeah? Create a picture of a person doing things. So it's doing, so it's present tense grammatically. But it's interesting. It doesn't show the past. Yeah, that's true. And it clearly also doesn't show the future. Would be interesting to see. What does it generate if you make create a picture of a future person doing future things? Maybe something I will try immediately after the session. Yeah. Anything else? Allow me to quickly highlight a couple of things that actually came to my mind. And here we have a couple of one dimension is probably too small for you to see, but this is the picture that I created when I was asking average. So create a picture of an average person doing average things, and that's the picture. And yes, overall, the setting going for groceries, very standard, and then it's a guy standing there. But I think he's a magician because he manages to keep his shopping basket floating, right? Which I did find very funny. And if you look at it more closely, actually, there are significant mistakes and many contextual mistakes. So for example, in the picture of, create a picture of a pregnant person, it's in the forefront, it's a woman, and she's attending a pregnancy yoga class, I guess, something like this. But just next to her, we have this pregnant male with a beard, okay? In the heterosexual picture, we have two people, but together they have 5 hands. And in the Italian picture, the saucer of the espresso cup is actually floating as well, similar to the shopping cart. So we do have quite a couple of kind of factual mistakes, and these mistakes are funny if we see them, but they are not so funny if the AI is being used for things that have more material impacts on our lives. And you might have heard about the story from last year, Portia Woodruff. She was 8 months pregnant, and she was wrongfully arrested because an AI system with facial recognition system fired off, highlighting that she was allegedly involved in a car hijacking, and she was kept in prison for 11 hours. Yeah? And this is just because the algorithm made a mistake. And this is certainly one problem. Then Olga already pointed to the fact that these people all look pretty good, right? They are all handsome, and that's I think not really by chance. So if you say make an attractive person, well, it definitely brings out a certain type of body picture, right? It did take me a lot of discussion to make it create a picture of an obese person, and then the obese person is obviously creating a salad. Whereas the attractive person, from my perspective, is clearly anorectic. So there is a certain type of a promotion of something that will be considered to be beautiful and nice and like things like that. Okay, so this is definitely a possible area of problems. This is an overview of some of the things that ChatGPT did do or did not do. In green, you see all the things that it was willing to do happily. In red, you see the things that it was not willing to do and absolutely refused to do it. And in yellow, you see the things that it only did after some sort of discussion. And obviously, you see that I was kind of pushing it, right? Once I realized what some of the sensitivities were, I was trying to play around with it and try to see what are the things that it would not do. But as you can see here, there are certain things that it does do and certain things that it doesn't do. Yeah. For example, one thing that I did find very interesting is that it had absolutely no problem to do all kinds of religion: Buddhist, Christian, Hinduist, atheist, Muslim. But when I was asking for a Jewish person doing Jewish things, it would refuse it, at least initially. After a repeat question, it would eventually produce it. Okay. Now then, of course, it also promotes stereotypes of certain cultures. If you look at these pictures, but then also US American, or what do the Brazilians do? The Australians always barbecue at the beach, and the Asians have nice writing, and then Middle Eastern with a falcon, and the German obviously drinks beer. So we do see a certain promotion of stereotypes. And we do see clearly a drastic underrepresentation of female. Only 9% of the pictures are female. The first female picture that I did get was actually Finnish for the sauna. And it's exactly as Olga said. If we look at what are classes of categories that make people show up more frequently than others. So for women, it's all about physical appearance and certain types of jobs. The gynecologist is a man, but the nurse is a woman. Nail stylist, influencer, and kindergarten. So none of these pictures is problematic in itself and individually. But if we look at them collectively, then we see exactly these kind of problems that Olga was referring to. Yeah, so poorly paid jobs and low socioeconomic status tends to have darker skin color. And of course, the educated person or the finance person or the billionaire don't, okay? I mean, really a dark black skin color are only given to very, very few people, mostly from when relating to certain countries. There's not a single black female person, sometimes only in the background. So there is a lot of stereotyping going on. There are sometimes exceptions. So, for example, I would have expected stereotyping in a way that cleaning would have been a woman or so. Now, my approach obviously was also inspired by this thing that was floating around the internet already a couple of months before that. And these are pictures that Midjourney, an early version of Midjourney, was producing for when it was prompted to create a picture of a professor of, and then various different disciplines. And the geology is my favorite because he really looks like my father, and my father studied geology. And I was amused when I look at this, because on the one hand side, this is very stereotyping, but on the other hand, I did feel a little bit kind of caught, right? Because the stereotypes relate pretty much to the stereotypes that I have about the world. Now, one of the drivers for this stereotypes and the visible biases that we see in the outputs of AI is actually driven by the training material, very obviously, right? So if we look at these pictures of the professors, it's not a big surprise that the business professor pretty much looks like Michael Porter, probably the most influential business professor of all times. And of course, there are thousands and millions of pictures of Michael Porter, and I'm not necessarily, it's not a big surprise to see a massive impact on Michael Porter on this. Or here for performing arts, I see a striking resemblance with Simon Rattle. So we do know where these things are coming from. Now, if we just let our AI train and develop by themselves, it will lead to biased outcomes that were, for example, documented properly by Bloomberg in an article where they found that only 7% of all pictures of doctors are female, whereas 39% of the US American medical doctors are actually female. So this is the area where they did see a very significant difference. What can we do? Well, some people try to intervene and give particular instructions, but this can backfire. And this one here is Google. Gemini was asked to produce pictures. And what you can see here is if you say, make a picture of a German soldier from 1943, obviously it should be strictly white, male, young. But obviously, there has been kind of an additional request and information that the pictures that are being produced should be diverse. And this leads to kind of an overshooting, which also is probably bad. Now, with this biases that we have just talked about, we have only looked at a very small set of ethical issues. And allow me just to close by highlighting that there is an entire, that I've developed a short framework whereby I see that there are actually 6 main problems that pop up over and over again when it comes to ethical issues of AI. But the good thing is that for all of these dimensions, AI can also bring upsides. For example, in certain medical domains, AI systems seem to be significantly less biased than human doctors. And having said that, I would like to close and hand over back. I'm sure there are lots of questions, not so much only about what I just showed to you, but certainly also about ESMT's program portfolio.
Thank you, Urs. That was definitely thought-provoking, definitely things I have never thought about. So thank you so much for expanding our knowledge and our understanding of AI. Doesn't seem to be any Q&As at this second, so I will just soldier on with now my presentation. So just give me 1 second. I will bring it up. Okay. There you go. So for the MBA Bites, in the interest of time, I will run through a little bit quicker. So feel free to pop your questions in the Q&A if I don't get to mention something that you're really interested in. So just quickly to introduce ESMT, it is a world-leading business school here in the heart of Berlin, and it is, as you can see, accredited by quite a few different bodies, what we call the Triple Crown. We have three very high-ranking accreditations, so you know you are getting the good stuff when it comes to business education. Our mission is that from the heart of Europe, we create and impart new knowledge to advance business and society. So we do take that very seriously, and it is really lived throughout all the different departments. We were founded by 25 leading global companies. You can see the names all listed here. And what kind of makes us stand out are these 4 points here. So we do offer modern and relevant curricula that are actually revised on a very regular basis based on student feedback and, of course, the latest research. All of our degrees have an international focus. So that is not just who you're surrounded with the international cohort, but also the business cases that you go through, international knowledge that is shared, and also where you study, because most degrees offer some international adventure as well. You can make sure that you do have the best chances to go through a career transformation, and each MBA program helps you in a little bit of a different way there. And the hard facts about ESMT are that it's, as I said, Germany's leading business school. We have a very engaged alumni network, world-class faculty, and we are founded by businesses themselves. So to go a little bit more into detail with the different MBAs that we are offering. So the first up is the full-time MBA. So that is a 15-month full-time program. It always starts in January, and you can really make it your own. So there are 2 specializations that you can choose, the managerial analytics and the innovation and entrepreneurship. Then there are different summer options you can choose from to make it your own. So you can do a 3-month internship, or you could do a social impact challenge. You can choose to do intensive German, and there also a summer entrepreneurship program. So really different focuses according to what your interest is in. You can see the class profile there. So people tend to be in the early 30s, have therefore about 5 years of work experience. It's very international, as you can see. With the male-female ratio, we do, I have to say, work a little bit more on that. We would hope to have more women in the program. Then going on to the part-time MBA, which was Urs's degree that he was the faculty lead for. And that is a blended program which you would study for 2 years. And so it always starts in September. And how it works is that 75% of the degree is studied online, and 20% is studied in person. And what that means is that about every 2 months, you would come onto campus, which what we call residencies. And there are about 3.5 days that you would spend here on campus, so that you have that networking ability, that you have that in-person solving problems, working on your projects, having, you know, the possibility to talk with your lecturers face-to-face. And the good thing is that altogether, you would only spend 28 working days away from your work here on campus. So the degree is really good for people that do want to stay in their job while also gaining the MBA experience. You can see that the class profile is just that little bit older. So people tend to be on average 32 years old, so have just that little bit more seniority in their career. It's still very international, and it is just that great mix between wanting to stay in your job, studying online, but also having that in-person networking. Next up is our global online MBA. So that program is fully online. It does focus on general management, as all of our MBA programs, but combined with technology, innovation, and global electives. So it is also a 2-year part-time program. It has 7 modules. And you do have the option, though, to add some in-person components. So that could be the Berlin Experience Week, where you come 1 week onto campus and meet anyone that you're studying with, also from different cohorts. And then also you have the chance to go on a global experience week. And these two electives are very popular among our global online MBA students. It usually has the feeling of about a class reunion. Everyone is very happy to come here, and you can always see the beaming faces because it's so special to see each other face to face. But the good thing is that even though it's 100% online, there's still a lot of networking that happens. There's a lot of interaction. It's very teamwork focused. And so you don't miss out on that networking component. It's just through different means, through online. There is also a global alumni network there, and you can see we do already have, last year we had over 100 students enrolled in it. It's also very international, and it's also for people that do basically want to stay in their job, gain the MBA while working, but don't foresee the possibility to travel on that regular basis like you would with the part-time MBA. Lastly, there is the executive MBA, and that is really for applicants with the most seniority in their career. So people tend to be in their late 30s when they study the executive MBA, and therefore have a lot of experience under their belt. And so hence that is the network that you will create when you study the executive MBA. It is very much focused on your becoming a great leader, preparing you for that senior managerial level. It's altogether, it's an 18-month program. There's 10 modules. It always starts in October. And it also means that about every second month you would come onto campus. Each module lasts for 6 days. And 6 of those are held here in Berlin on campus, and 4 are international modules. So you can see that in all of our MBA programs, there are international components. And it just depends on what you want to gain out of your MBA, what your level of where you are at in your career, what kind of network you want to create, and what you want to get out of the MBA. Alongside all of your MBAs, you have the CDC, which is the Career Development Center, help you to do your career transition. So they help you with career development workshops, recruitment support, such as on and off campus recruitment events, and giving you tools and resources that you can use to land the job that you want. There are corporate visits that they organize. There's also individual career counseling, which is for all the MBAs on offer, except for the Global Online MBA. There it would be an add-on to your MBA. And even if you study the executive MBA, you get a membership of Blue Steps, which is focused on executive search. And here you can see it's a full screen of some of the companies that the CDC is working with. So if you come, for example, to our career days, which are offered, for example, in January every year, there you can do basically like a speed dating. You can introduce yourself to all these different companies, get an insight in what they might be looking for, how you might fit into their recruitment efforts. So really a great bandwidth of companies that you can get in touch with there. And so after me running through these slides, if you have any more questions, feel free to pop them into the Q&A, or otherwise we are always happy to answer your questions, especially if it's more an individualized question about your particular profile. Then you can simply email degrees@esmt.org. You can also go on our website. All of the information that we just talked about, that I just talked about, you can find on our website. And otherwise, I will just stop sharing now and see if there's any more questions.
There was one question, if I'm still here, and I am. For some reason, I cannot answer.
Okay. Yes, we can allow Aryan. So Aryan might be able to talk now.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So about the stereotype thing, I was thinking that if you're asking the AI to make something like a German doing German thing, so it has that input to make it blatantly German. So it would be using stereotypes and instantly recognizable things to show that it is a German thing, so that everyone can recognize it just by seeing it. So with that, I was thinking about the time thing that one person said. If you put in like a good thing to experiment on would be that if you try to put in a few items that were used at certain times in the history and see if it immediately connects them to that time in history. That would be a good experiment to do.
Mm. Yeah. Do you have a specific idea?
A certain sort of a funny hat that a king wore or something like that. Does it immediately take you to that time? That sort of a thing.
Mm. Yeah, maybe. Probably it does. Yeah. Good idea.
Thank you.
I can't hear you anymore. Patrick?
Excuse me, sorry. There is an admissions related question in regards to an IELTS score. So as part of the admissions, you do need to prove that you have good English skills because all of our degrees are run in English. And so therefore, either you can prove to us during the interview because you are a native speaker or you have gained a degree in that was English speaking, or you have worked many years in an English speaking company. That would be good signs for us that your English is at a good level. If your IELTS is longer ago, or if you yourself can tell, will I be able to really go through a Master of Business Administration? So, you know, a intense program, fully in English, maybe I will struggle. Then that would be the point for you to say, maybe I do need to do another IELTS and make sure that I do have the level to be a successful student going through an MBA. And another question is, in which format will lectures taught in the part-time MBA? Or maybe that's something for you.
I started to type, but allow me to say, I mean, first of all, at ESMT, we do have lectures, but it's not only lectures. So the typical mode of any live interaction is not a professor standing at front and shouting at you. In the part-time MBA, as was mentioned, we have these residencies. And in these residencies, which account for approximately 80% of a course, 20% of a course. In total, it's a bit more. That's why we calculate the total of 25. 20% are the residencies where people meet live in Berlin, mostly, some trips, but mostly in Berlin. And then we have normal classroom sessions. And this includes role plays and group discussions and peer discussions and group work and explorations and maybe visits, etc., etc. But it also includes lectures. Then every course has typically 2, sometimes less, sometimes a bit more, live online sessions, which we then typically repeat. I use one of them, for example, to play a simulation in my business ethics class. And then the rest of the course is delivered asynchronously online. So means students go through the content at their own pace. And if the part-time MBA is of interest to you, you should absolutely ask for an opportunity to see. We have mock-up courses or trial pages that you can look at in order to get a feeling of how does the platform look like.
Thank you, Urs. I will just now say, in the interest of time, I will say thank you, everyone, for all of your questions, the nice interaction we had. Thank you, Urs, for the very interesting lecture. If you have any more questions and that might not be answered right now, feel free to email us at degrees@esmt.org. We will be happy to answer anything coming our way. So thanks, everyone, and have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.